Here we are on the login screen of Fire and we are signing in. On signing, we reach the dashboard page. Here we see that we currently have 25 workflows, 79 nodes, 18 datasets, and 1 executed workflow. If we look at the dataset screen, the datasets allows us to define our dataset. For example, if we look at the housing dataset, we see here that this housing.csv is a comma separated file and it has the schema. If we hit update, it kind of updates the schema. If we change this file to say cost.csv, cost.csv doesn't have a defined header file, so it is getting some predefined column names. Fire also infers the data type of each column and assigns a corresponding machine learning type, which could be numeric, text, or categorical. Fire is also able to connect to Hive datasets. To Hive datasets, here we see that sample_07 has the following schema. So once we have the datasets defined, we now look to use those datasets in our workflows. Here are the different categories of workflows that have been currently built, like machine learning, graph, display graphs, all load into HBase, or process Omniture, or here they're processing Apache access logs. We can edit any of these workflows or create a new workflow of our own. Here we see that this Apache logs just points to this directory Apache access log.log, actually a file, and then we are telling it to print a few records from there. So if we can also execute it through the UI, and all we see is that it's actually printing the first few records from that file. It is able to process and infer the schema by itself, and we don't have to write extra code for that. Coming back to workflows, here are some machine learning workflows. Let's take a look at a housing workflow. This one, it allows us to select a data set. So here we are selecting a housing data set that we have predefined. From the machine learning piece, Fire mainly depends on Spark ML pipelines, or the ML part of Spark. So here we see there's a vector assembler, which is the vector assembler, actually the class within ML. And we are saying these are our input columns and this is our output column. And to put it into a vector, because that is what the random forest regression needs the features to be in a vector. So these are the parameters of random forest regression. So let's go ahead and execute this housing workflow. So if we execute it, we see that it ended up creating a random forest with, say, 20 trees from 0 to 19 because we asked it to create 20 trees. So that was all about the workflows. We can also look at the past executions. For example, we just executed this, and we can view the execution results that were achieved when we last ran it. Here's a screen of the list of nodes that are there, the pre-built nodes. And if you see, there are about 78 nodes that are actually pre-built. The nodes can be easily added to Fire just by adding a jar file that contains those nodes and dropping in a JSON file, and it would start appearing in our workflow menu. So that means that it is highly extendable. Anyone can add their own logic to it, and the node that gets added gets all the intelligence that the UI provides to the other nodes. You also have the ability to add users, groups, and roles. So this allows for sharing of workflows and datasets. For example, if we see here's a workflow, this workflow is shared with a default group with a read permission, and it can be also removed. But this workflow is actually owned by this user. That's why you are seeing that this user has actually all of the permissions on this workflow. Similarly, on datasets, users can actually share the datasets with other groups and be able and allow other users to be able to use and modify the datasets depending on the permissions assigned. So that was all about a first high-level overview of Fire.